Commander Masters is a black eye for Wizards of the Coast. This product was at a price point players were unwilling to accept, but that also draws attention away from so many other Magic cards that players should be taking a look at to see if there's any use left in these cards. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at what Wizards of the Coast has been doing, but I'm also going to be sharing with you a lot of Magic cards I think you need to know about. With Wizards of the Coast trying to crack the code on how to access higher value for Magic the Gathering, they have failed on so many levels that they've actually done more damage than they realize. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thanks again for hanging out with me on the channel today. So when you think of 30th anniversary, when you go ahead and think of Commander Masters 2023, overpriced, everyone rejected it. This is not a bashing video. I'm sorry if you think it's going to be. It's not. But we have some stuff we have to discuss because it relates to things like this. I think most of us can agree. Wizard of the Coast, directed by Hasbro, is trying to generate more profits, right? They need more money. To keep things going, to keep the lights on, we got to access money for shareholders. We got to keep up with inflation. They got to stay ahead of the curve, and they're trying all this crazy stuff. Some of it sticks, some of it doesn't. They tried Epilogue, They tried higher price points, And then they tried 30th anniversary, accessing reserve list cards. Didn't work. But you know what it did do? It brought down the brand, which has unintended consequences. They wanted to access reserve list value, alpha, beta, unlimited, by reprinting the 30th anniversary for, what was it, $250 per pack? Like $1,000 for 4, and that was US prices, crazy stuff. And it failed. They tried introducing higher price points. It failed. But what it did do is chase away a lot of speculators, a lot of investors. The investor types are gone. The tree got shook, everyone ran for the hills, and their cards went back on the market. So really, reserve list haters are the ones who won right now. They are winning the war because reserve list prices collapsed. Everything is super cheap. And if it's super cheap and it's accessible and everyone can afford it, and no, I'm not talking about Power 9, but basically everything else has never been more affordable for players. Interesting, you don't hear a lot of people saying how great it is out there. Right? That nobody's saying it's amazing. I've done a few videos on it. Nobody's hyping on it. Nobody's watching it. So what's happening? Okay. Now that we've gotten that part past, think about all the cards out there. And I want you to really take a minute to think. You may be a new player. You might be a long-standing player. There are tens of thousands of cards, right? Nobody knows them all. Most new players I've played against have never seen a force field. I blew that guy's mind when he's just like, that's not a real card. And he had to look it up, and the store owner kind of laughed. That stuff happens all the time. How about a person who's never seen a Goblin Wizard? A person who's never seen a Thanos' Coffin? Now these cards used to be $150, $200. Now you can find them for pennies on the dollar. So if they're that cheap, why is nobody buying? Why aren't people looking? Well, the interesting thing is people are buying. And they're being very quiet about it. And they're just going about their daily business saying, hey, that card's kind of cheap and affordable. Because when the market gets crashed like this, there's always the chance somebody's going to take advantage. But most people may not even know these cards exist or never have played against them or seen them before. Or if they have seen them, they think they're utter junk and have no place in the modern, fast pace of Magic the Gathering. So I'm going to share with you guys some cards today. We're going to take a look at this. But before we do, I want you to think about this. I'm not just talking reserve list cards. I'm talking old cards. I'm talking from Arabian Nights cards, which used to be so expensive. These cards have all crashed. Alpha, Beta, Unlimited. I don't care if you're looking at Visions, Mirage, cards that used to cost a fortune. Think about a set like the Dark, 65 million card print run. I know some of you that seems like a lot, but nowadays it's like billions of cards are printed, right? Per set. So 65 million is really low. Not as low as, say, Arabian Nights, which had a 5 million card print run, the very first expansion, but they're still really low. And when you think of a set like the Dark, I guess that's around 270 to 280,000 of each rare from that set, Uncommon 1 or whatever. That was their version of a rare back then because it was an 8-card pack. When you think about how rare that is, players who love serialized cards or like collecting the fancy special edition foils that are super hard, textured, amazing, full art, extended, jeweled Lotus. But just so you know, any card from the Dark, even like a City of Shadows for $35, near mint, by the way, that's more rare than your Jeweled Lotus. So that's where things are. The limelight has turned away from anything reserve list or old. And they have a lot of the players looking at the front. Yes, people are complaining, but they are looking that way. And there are people over here going, why is nobody looking over here? Don't you see what's going on? And no, everyone's over there looking at the light, looking at this, either complaining or they're actually enjoying what they see. A lot of good sets from Wizards, a lot of new stuff coming out. And as they bring it out so much, it gets forgotten, it gets lost in the shuffle. And that's where the damage has been done because nobody can keep up. And if you can't keep up, you don't remember. If you don't remember, if you don't think about it or watch YouTube channels to get information, and you're just enjoying and indulging, it probably doesn't matter to you, but it's interesting. So I want to share some of these cards with you guys. We're going to discuss this as we go through why I think things may turn around in the future, but it's a long way off because, again, somebody's got to shine a big spotlight to get people looking, and Wizards has no interest in shining anything after the values have dropped so low. They want people looking at that light. So let me show you a few cards here. Let's get this party started. The first card I want to share with everyone today is Deathgrip from Unlimited. Now, this is an enchantment that counters spells. It's less than $5. And if you want to buy it in like a revised edition, it's like 25 cents. But you might as well just go ahead, buy an unlimited copy for less than $5 because it's a little more flex, a little more like, hey, this is special, it's unlimited. Now, it's a 2 black casting cost enchantment. And it says 2 black, counter a green spell as it's being cast. This ability is played as an interrupt and does not affect green cards already in play. So it's got to be as they're casting it. Think about how many decks now cross over to multi-spells. So they're going like, I'm going to put some green, red, blue. I got a 5-color deck. And how many of these decks have combos? And you go, I'm going to use a counter spell. And I'm going to counter one of these spells. Deathgrip lets you counter them forever. Every turn. You don't have to have space tied up by having a counter spell when you have something like Deathgrip and there's a green one called Life Force. These are versions of counter spells for different colors, and this is why Wizards doesn't reprint them. The chances of it being reprinted, pretty slim. 2 casting cost enchantment, that's pretty fast. That's kind of like what we've seen for things like Counterspell. So this thing to me still has playability left in it, and players never expect this kind of stuff. An unlimited copy, less than $5 really? This is what's happened to Magic right now with prices the way they are. Now, the next card, Force of Will, and this is from Alliances. It was an uncommon in Alliances, guys. This thing was like $150, and then it started getting reprinted all the time. Wizards tapped into the value, but you notice the original is still holding up fairly well. It's an original printing, the very first time it's been printed. And I know a lot of friends who still have the original copies and prefer to put those in because they consider them more rare than anything Wizards prints nowadays. Anything you see in these flashy foils, to friends I know who've been around the game a while, they're not special. They're not rare. They're all over the place in all kinds of boxes all over the world. Whereas the Alliances one had a limited print run. They are hard to get. Yes, there's still Alliances boxes sealed, but it's nothing like you'll see at LGSs nowadays. And that's why my friends and people I play with will say this is a far more collectible, rare piece. But the way Wizards has done things, players aren't even looking at this stuff. Now, our next card is Ice Storm. This is not reserve list, although it was reserve list until 2002. That's when they took it off the reserve list. It was only printed in Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, I guess Collector Edition, and of course 30th Anniversary. But when you take a look at Ice Storm, they could reprint it, but they won't, because it gives green the ability to destroy lands. And they don't like that. Same as they had the Tsunami. Tsunami was a blue one that cost like 20 cents, and it destroys all islands in play. Ice Storm destroys any one land in play. You get to pick your target, and it's coming from green, not red, which is of course known for land destruction, and then sometimes black when they had things like Sinkhole. Maybe even a Strip Mine. Either way, people never expect it. And the fact that this thing costs less than a Sheoldred of the Apocalypse, and yes, you could say Sheoldred's a way better card. You're right. Sheoldred may be a better card overall, but for players who want to throw you off, for a player who's building the right type of deck, a card like this can be invaluable, and the chances of Wizards of the Coast ever reprinting it, I'll give it a 50-50 shot. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next card. This is Mana Drain. You guys all know Mana Drain, but if you've been around for the original printing in Legends, look at how this value is holding up. This thing was $400. Started getting a lot of reprints back in 2020, and they've reprinted it every year now. So it's just going down, going down, going down. But overall, it's still above half of where it used to be. $237, still a lot of money, I admit. But it is a first printing of the card, and anyone I know would say get a Legends, get an English or an Italian over anything new that they print today. Because it is more rare, it is more special, and the fact that Legends has had such a low print run, guys. The print run was so much less. An amazing card. And the value. I know people will say the value is not there, but to somebody like me who's been around the block, oh, I still don't own 4. I think I have 2 English and 2 Italian. I should start looking at these. Now, Lake of the Dead. Again, alliances. Look at this card. This thing's been as high as $300. I don't care if you love the reserve list or hate the reserve list. This is one of the best pieces of artwork I've ever seen in Magic's history. We used to actually think this was like super spooky. Just like the corpses laying inside the lake and stuff, right? Crazy stuff. And the Lake of the Dead's a good card. Yeah, you gotta sacrifice a swamp when it comes in. But sacrificing a swamp after that to get 4 mana back, and with things like Wrenn and 6 and stuff, they can recycle your lands, or Crucible of Worlds. It just basically, it's going to be a 4 mana popper. That thing's better than an Mishra's Workshop. Really, when you think about it, as long as you got the combo in place, you can get a lot of mana for this thing, and there's ways of instilling it and untapping it. Crazy stuff can happen. Crazy stuff. And yet, nobody's buying it. There's some sales, but nobody's buying this stuff. People aren't looking back and thinking about what great cards are out there, instead of looking at some flashy box they're mad at or aren't going to buy anyway. Now, Didgeridoo. Some people were mentioning to me, hey, you know, Caverns of Ixalan, we're probably going to get some more Minotaurs. There were a lot of them on Ixalan. We're going to see some stuff. Sure you will. Minotaurs, I still think are going to come around. And when you look at a card like Didgeridoo, it's been as high as 50, I think $60. And this thing now, you can get for like $8 on TCG Player. And you look at Didgeridoo and you go, it costs 1. You can take a Minotaur and put it directly into play. Minotaur. Put it directly into play. I don't care how big it is. I don't care how powerful it is. You can just pop it out. And this thing's legal in Commander? I'm sorry, to me, that card is amazing. I know it's a Homelands card that nobody cares about, but the possibility, like Mind Over Matter, like other cards we've seen, it is crazy to think where this card could go with just 1 or 2 cards printed, 1 or 2 things to break it. Yet nobody's really looking at it. Nobody's really buying it. And maybe that's okay until the frenzy comes when it does happen. Not if, but when. Now, Null Rod, Weatherlight. People ask me to look into this. Yes, there is an increase of sales, and that's because of everything we've seen going on with the recent buyouts, right? So I look at this, and I say, okay, this card was like $350, and now it's like $81, $81, and it's still dropping in price. It's still actually kind of going down, even with the increased sales. It's bottom of the barrel. It's an amazing card, okay? 2 casting cost generic. Players cannot play any artifact abilities requiring an activation cost. If you got to pay mana to use it, you can't use it. That's insane. And it just costs 2. 2 generic. And this is why it's one of the best cards in Weatherlight. And nobody's buying it. Nobody's thinking about it. Would you buy these at this price? Do these interest you? Or does it have to go even lower? Because a reserve list hater is going to say it should be no more than $20, $10, whatever they're going to say. But when you know where a card has been, even if it was only there briefly, during some crazy FOMO buyout that nobody believed in except for the people there at that moment, you think it won't happen again? We'll find out one day. We'll find out one day. Now, how about a Goblin Wizard from the Dark? This thing used to be $250, and now the bargain basement price of around $40. Okay, $40 US, this card is yours. Now, Goblin Wizard, of course, will go into a generic Goblin deck. You'd love to have it because it is 2 red, 2 generic, and it says, tap it. Take a Goblin card from your hand, put it directly into play. Treat this Goblin as though it were just summoned, or you can pay 1 red. And a target Goblin will gain protection from white until end of turn. So you can actually give other Goblins protection and take big Goblins and put them directly into play. Maybe there's no huge Goblins yet, but you think there never will be. And doesn't a red deck need protection from other colors around it? This is a freebie. It's just protection from white, so it can save it from all kinds of damage, from enchantments, crazy stuff that players may be thinking. And this thing's less than $40 now? Insane to me to think it's that easily obtainable for someone who hasn't been looking or never knew it existed. Now, how about Blood Moon? Now, I've talked about this card lots of times. This card is reprintable. And in the Dark, again, 270 to 280,000 copies in existence. And every time they reprint it, yes, it's still played. People still love the new artworks and stuff. But to me, the original is the way to go. It's an original printing, original artwork. And of course, when you look at the card and you say it still has great uses, even in today's decks, people still play with this card. So it's got longevity and it's an original card. And that's why the value doesn't really go down. Yes, during the hype, it went over $200. But after that hype, it never dropped below a certain level. This is as safe as we get in Magic. This is a pretty safe card to buy for continued longevity in value. I love this card. I can't believe that players aren't more aware of what an original printing of a card will look like and buy it into their collections. Now, here's City of Shadows. This is a card I love. You guys know I've talked about it all the time. With all these tokens, all these creature creation things now, City of Shadows gains more and more use in my eyes every time I see it. When you look at the card, it's a land. Sacrifice one of your creatures, but remove it from the game instead of placing it in your graveyard. Put a counter on City of Shadows. Imagine taking control of an opponent's creature and sacking it to City of Shadows. So it's gone entirely. It's exiled. Imagine using things like control magic with a Skull of Orm. You know, you're nuking their creatures, taking them over. You're taking creatures of your own that you don't care about, tokens, and building it up till this land can tap for 10, 15 mana. In Commander, I can tell you now, it can be invaluable when used the right way. I've played against lots of opponents who underestimated what I was going to do because I would still block with the creature and then sack outlet it. It was crazy, guys. And this is where we're at right now, because with everything that Wizards of the Coast has done, with all these crazy things they have tried, it has affected the secondary market. It has made the cards more obtainable, more affordable for anyone who wants to get in there and get them. So players can complain and say they're still not cheap enough. I think I have the right to get myself some Power 9 cards. Maybe you do. Maybe you do, and you should go ahead and proxy them. Then you'll have them. But if you want to buy the real deal, the prices are still falling. I've seen dual lands now below the 3,500 Canadian price point. These things used to be $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. That's still less than half of what they were. And no, it's not the 2,500 we used to see, but the prices are still falling. The way we're going, these cards, it looks to me like anyone who hates the reserve list won. These cards are super cheap and anyone can get their hands on it. It's amazing. It is amazing for those of us who are still trying to collect these cards and gather up. And again, doesn't have to be a reserve list. It can just be old cards like Arabian Nights, Legends, Fallen Empires, The Dark. I don't care whatever your set is, or set you've never heard of or never got into. What a great way to explore some old cards by being able to pick up so many cards now for $1.50. Get whole lot cards because people just gave up and walked away. But for you, if you love the game, this stuff is all just here. It blows my mind when I go shopping now. I'm like, I can get some of this and some of this, a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. You know, it's crazy. Anyway, it's a great day to be in the world of Magic. I love the idea that these prices are so low and that Wizards has done this for us and given us these opportunities. It is amazing. So thanks again for watching. Thanks for hanging out. And of course, if you enjoyed today's content, if you liked hanging out with the Moxman here, don't forget, every new subscriber helps this channel get closer to 20,000 subscribers. 20,000 subs and the 20K party. It's going to be epic when we get there. But we can't do anything until we get to 19,000. So 19,000, we'll have the whole rules come out and everything, give you guys time to prepare. A few hints have gone out to Patreon members who won things on the wheel and stuff, and a few regular viewers. But you never know. Crazy stuff has happened in this channel, and it may happen again. So thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. And if you're buying on TCG Player, use my affiliate link found in the description of all my videos. When you hit that affiliate link, the channel here gets a 3.5% kickback. Lets me buy cards for the channel. It's epic. I really appreciate those who take the time to do it. And of course, I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Daily uploaded content every day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And hey, we'll see you all tomorrow. It's a great game. You should always bring a friend to Magic. What are we doing here? Where are we? We're at the end credits. Look, names and things are happening. There's people going by. Oh yeah, these are the amazing supporters of my channel. You're the ones who hang out with me every day. Thanks to all the amazing patrons on the channel. Daily uploaded content is made possible. You guys rock. Well, hidey ho. Welcome back. We're Animaniacs. We're zany to the max. Hope you guys are having an awesome day wherever you are in the world of Magic. I know I am. Guys, I love when I look at this stuff and you see the prices going down. And you know most people aren't paying attention. And nobody cares because they're just either, focused on new product, or they left the game entirely, or there's just so few people looking back at old cards now that to us it's like going on a treasure hunt, but you know you're going to find something. It's like, I know I'm going to find something. I don't know how valuable it's going to be, but I'm going to find something. Love that stuff, guys. Seeing some of these old cards come to life again and seeing the idea that they're just so cheap. Crazy. Crazy. But it does show as well, good cards like Blood Moon continue to have value no matter what printing you put them in. Crazy stuff. So, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being here every day, man. Every day. And if you make it to the end of the video, what's in the box. I know you guys want to know. It's about that thick now. And I have a lot more stuff coming. But I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to work on this and get it ready because we're getting closer. With all the amazing things happening right now, we are getting closer. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome. Guys, have an awesome day. You deserve it. I deserve it. It's going to be good. Go help a friend.